welcome to my channel for the second video. I'm still sitting on the floor with no bookshelf, so my books are here keeping me company. I know. It's now the 13th. The bookshelf is coming on the 17th, so soon I will be doing a bookshelf tour, so that you see all the books that I have, how I've organized them. Since last video I kind of had to reorganize a tiny bit because there were a lot of new books coming and there are still a few coming, but yeah, let's see how it goes. Yeah, for this video, for today, even though we don't have a shelf, we don't have my beautiful little chair that is gonna be near the shelf when I record, and we are already in the middle of the month almost, in the middle of the month of December. I still wanted to do a November books that I've read kind of thingy, and it's hopefully gonna be a quicker video so that I don't make you watch 17 to 20 minutes videos all the time. So let's start this. So I'm not gonna show you the books by order because I don't remember what was the order that I read them in. Probably I could remember that by looking at Bookmori. That is the app. By the way, this is not a sponsored video, but I do use Bookmori to track my progress on reading, to track a wish list, to track everything that I have on my library, in my library. So that's what I usually use, but I'm just going to show you the books without any specific order. So first book that I've read, again not in order, was this one. There is The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. I was seeing if I was in frame, which I am. And yeah, this is from Audre Lorde. I've actually bought this in Tate Modern London because I went to Zanelle Moholy, I think I'm saying the name correctly, Zanelle Moholy's exhibition. She's a South African artist, and she does photography. There were other things other than photography in at the museum, at her exhibition, and I really liked it. And then when I was getting out, they actually have some quite interesting books, and that's when I got Audre Lorde's book. This is more of a gathering of some essays. It shows stuff about feminism, about human rights and women rights, okay, and how to make that intersectional, because a lot of people talk about feminism as in just give me my rights to work kind of thingy in a generic way, but then they forget a lot of times that we actually all need rights. And when we are talking about all, it's not just white people, white women, it's everyone, black women, indigenous women, Middle Eastern women, people that are disabled, and not only women. Feminism is intersectional. We are trying to fight for everyone, or we were supposed to be trying to fight for everyone. And Audre Lorde does talk a lot about black women's rights, about gay people's rights, LGBTQ plus people's rights, and that's really important. Yeah, this was one of the books. I think I didn't do this in order, but I do think that this was the first one that I read actually in November. But yeah, quite recommended. Next one is from Greta Thunberg. Again, I think I'm saying her last name correctly. If I botch a name, I'm so sorry. Please don't come after me. But yeah, it's another book that is mostly essays. In this case, it's not essays per se. This is more of like when she would go to conventions, she would write something, and this book has some of those speeches that she gave. It's No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference. Let me show you the book. in the back you have a photo of her. So yeah, this was quite touching, seeing how when she was a child, she's not a child anymore, she's now a young adult, but when she was a child, like seeing how a child actually wants to have some voice in the world just to make the world better, because a lot of times we forget about how we are taking care of the planet is not going to be influencing only our lives, it's going to be mostly impacting other people's lives in the future. We are being quite impacted at the moment, we can say, with all the floods and other stuff that has been happening, and fires, and well, I don't need to tell you, you just have to open your phone and open Google or whatever and you will see. But yeah, I bought this one secondhand, and it was quite interesting to see the view from a child basically asking for the world to be saved, the planet to be saved for the next generations, and seeing that at 15 or 16 she was at the time, she already had an idea of the world that most adults don't have ever. So it was quite interesting to see that. And Greta supports Palestine, so she was a bit silent for a long time, we know that, but now she's been active on that, and that's really good. So quite happy about this. I bought this at Subriders in the UK, so it's secondhand. It was like the original price, I think it was like £3 or something. Yeah, and I bought it for £1 at Subriders, so amazing. Now for the next one. The next one, actually, it's one of my favorite books of the year, probably. And it's on Palestine from Noam Chomsky and Ilan Pappé. Again, I think I'm saying Pappé correct. This is quite a quite special one for me, because few weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago, or maybe a week and a half ago, my husband actually told me that Noam Chomsky is getting worse, and he had something like he couldn't already properly communicate, etc. And that's quite sad, because he's one of the big thinkers of our times. But he's like on his 80s, and I think nobody was expecting for that to not happening, but we were. I think that people that are fans from his work and from the person that he is always been showing to be, actually can get really upset, because he speaks about stuff that most people don't want to speak. So, but yeah, I read Noam Chomsky. I bought this one, I think, on Brick Lane Bookshop. Yeah, on Brick Lane Bookshop in Camden. Okay, I was going around on the Camden markets, and then I stopped by the Brick Lane Bookshop, and I bought this book there. And this is actually, there's two parts to this book. Part of it is an interview with Frank Barat. I think that's how you say his name. Let's see if I didn't botch anyone's name. Yeah, Frank Barat, I think. And Frank Barat does this kind of interview. It's not kind, it's like along the days is doing some interviews with Ilan Pappé and Noam Chomsky, and basically you see two views from both authors and activists. You see their views on Palestine. They talk about like two-state solution versus one-state solution. They talk about like what would be of Palestine in the future, what are the hopes for Palestine in the future, what would happen with the Israeli people as well. Like if I recall, they also talk about that. Yeah, they talk about like how a two-state solution versus a one-state solution would affect the people that are in there, the colonizers. But yeah, you have to read it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I do think that this is a must read. This is an actually light read compared to other books that I'm gonna I'm gonna read. It's on my TBR list, and that I've read already. One of them is here with me because it was read during November. So I do recommend this. And the second part, I almost forgot, the second part of this book is actually just like a couple of like normal writing, like an actual book writing from Ellen Pape and Noam Chomsky. They kind of alternate on the second part between Ellen Pape and Noam Chomsky, like different kind of almost essays by them. So yeah, this is a must read. Put this on your TBR, please, please, please. And by the way, I have seen this secondhand on BookBot, I think. I didn't buy it because I had already bought it on Bricklane Bookshop, but yeah, if you can, just check it out and see if it's still there on Palestine and Free Palestine. The next book I'm gonna show you, it's probably on my top 3, I guess, from this year, and it's Rennie Edolog's Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. This book is it feels very personal to me. I can relate to this book probably more than I've ever related with the book so far. I'm not Black, but I am a mixed woman that has been through some stuff. And the way that Rennie talks about stuff, it does hit a spot in my heart that I was like, this is needed. This is a must read for everyone. And I know that a lot of people would be like, oh, there they go, saying that they shouldn't be talking to us and teaching us about race, but they want us to know about stuff. Yeah, no, don't start, okay? Because that's not what this book is about. This book is about everything but that, okay? And by the way, we shouldn't have to teach you about racism, in a sense. Because I shouldn't have to tell you that you saying the N-word is racist. As a biracial woman, I've heard the N-word being said to me. And just FYI, I don't say the N-word because in my household, my father taught us how to not say the N-word. And why? Because it was something that was created to hurt us, to hurt Black people. That's what my father said. It was created to hurt us, so don't say it. And I do understand when other people say it, other people that are Black, but when it's white people, I shouldn't have to tell you about that. But well, kind of like getting sidetracked with this conversation. But why I'm no longer talking to white people about race is not properly about that. It's how we shouldn't be spending our energy on talking to white people about race when they actually are just trying to be argumentative against who's actually talking about it from a place of experience. And it does show us how Rennie tries to navigate through it well, because as an author, she of course, and she used to publish in newspapers and stuff. She had to talk to white people about race. She even mentions that to release this book, she had to talk to white people about race. So yeah, it's quite a very beautifully written book. It's probably the second book, because I read in August Michelle Alexander's Jim Crow, and it also made me cry, but this book made me cry. It was the second book this year that made me cry, I guess. No, Natives also made me cry, by a color. So this is the third book that made me cry this year. So yeah, she talks about her experience trying to talk to white people about race, about what made her not want to talk about to white people about race, like to some white people about race. So yeah, this is quite amazing. And if you also feel conflicted like I do, and feel that sometimes when I'm talking to white people about race, they just try to cut my word, and just like they ask stuff sometimes just so that I hear what they're saying, because there's also that about being a mixed woman. It comes with privilege, but it also comes with people thinking that they can say anything and they get away with it. Y'all are not going to get away with it. And sometimes I do avoid conversations with white people because of that, because I know that if you're just talking to me because you want just to be heard, for your side to be heard, or for me to say, oh, it's okay, you're not racist, yeah, no, thank you. Like, that's fine. But yeah, if you want to navigate through that with a better view, you should read this. But mostly white people, maybe read this as well, okay? Read this, because it will make you understand a lot better, if you want, if you're not just like doing it for the sake of doing it, but if you actually want to understand other people's voices, you should read this so that you actually understand our side, and you understand why sometimes it's just tiring to try to talk to you. Yeah, I'm tired just from talking about this, but it was an amazing book, and I would for sure reread it. Yeah, recommendation, big recommendation. Next, I'm gonna talk about a book that was really, really, really hard for me to read. Because, it's just, you will understand immediately. Basically, it's the 100 Years War on Palestine. This is written by Rashid Khalidi, who's a Palestinian author that has like Palestinian and Lebanese family. And you see throughout the book how you see the story of his family. You see how where he lived part of his life in Lebanon and lived, allergies, and lived part of his life in Palestine. He talks about how the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, like people call it that, it's basically just genocide, started because a lot of people think that this started last year in October 7th, and then they blame the Palestinians. A lot of people talk even about starting like in 2009. A lot of people talk about starting in 1948. That's closer. But it started way before that. Like in 1916, that was when the Balfour Declaration was signed, where the British Empire basically gives a territory that is not theirs to Israel, where they are going to start building their Israeli state. And even before that, they were already trying it. They're trying to do it. If I recall, since 1913, that there were like a lot of conversations about trying to sign the Balfour Declaration. And everything that was signed, that you see being signed, any declaration, it was always to screw the Palestinians and to basically get rid of the Jews as well, because this is something that is talked about in this book a lot, like why they did what they did and how they did what they did. And what you realize is that these all came from the West not wanting Jews in their land, and if they don't want them in their land, what are they going to do? They're going to grab a place that has people that they hate even more, and you're going to tell them, like, basically go there and kill them. That doesn't excuse the Israelis, okay? And be aware that I'm not using Jews and Israelis interchangeably. I'm not, okay? But I'm talking about how this started in the past, because Israel didn't exist per se, so they were just Jews, okay? But yeah, this talks about the 100 Years War on Palestine, as the title says, and you see a completely different view, because the author's family was always involved on trying to find peace for Palestine, and you can see that, like, you can see them telling the story throughout their family's eyes, throughout their own eyes, and it's somewhat special. It's really, really special. And yeah, this is something I recommend anyone to read. Anyone that is even on the fence, please read this, and you will understand history a lot better. So yeah, read please. Oh, one thing that I almost forgot to say. This one, it was my mother-in-law giving me this book. She had read it, so she got me a copy as well, because she knew that I was gonna like it. Thank you, Susan. Next one is Sapiens. So this book I bought in Norwich, I think. Yes, it was in Norwich. I was in a little store, like getting incense and stuff, like I do when I am in England. And I saw this book and I was quite interested. Let me do a disclaimer already. The author is Israeli, okay? And I do not agree with him in certain points. For example, not in this book, but the author is pro a two-state solution, which I'm not. But this is not what the book talks about. And yeah, when I bought the book, I didn't know that. Now, since then, I've been really careful with who I buy books from. A lot more careful. And this was a nice reading. It was actually a really good reading. However, I want you to keep something in mind when buying nonfiction. Nonfiction can be with scientific studies, or it can be with someone's opinion. The author of Sapiens, Yuval Noah Harari, I think that's how you say it. Again, you're gonna hear me saying wrong a lot of names. Sapiens was written by Yuval, who's an historian, not an anthropologist. Okay, so a lot of things that he talks about are quite interesting. However, keep in mind, this is not someone that is an expert in the area of humankind studies. He's an expert of telling what was found by those experts, the anthropologists. Okay, so it's a quite thick book. It's a quite interesting reading. It talks a lot about like how even like it talks about veganism in the book. It talks about how possibly how humankind was created was through genocide, but it's possibly, okay? Don't take anything that you read about nonfiction as like a fact unless it has like notes that show you that it's actually like from someone that is an expert and that has proof of it, okay? So yeah, recommend it as a thing to like have a bit more knowledge of what has been talked as a possibility of where we come from, but please, please, please take it as a grain of salt, okay? Yeah, Sapiens. Okay, we're down to 2. Okay. The next one is not for everyone, but it should be, because autism is something that has been in my life for a long time. I have people in my family with autism. It's something present on my husband's family as well. And yeah, this house has to be an autism-friendly house. But the world should be an autism-friendly house. And yeah, I bought The Autistic Brain by Temple Grandin and Richard Panik, whatever. And this book, I think it's a good read for anyone, because unfortunately the world is not adapted to everyone, not only to autistic people, but it isn't adapted for anyone that is neurodivergent. Okay, and people that are neurodivergent should have the same opportunities that everyone has. One thing that Temple Grandin talks about in this book made me think a lot about that. And it's a bit of a spoiler, but it's just that she talks about how she asked their students to buy a bunch of different color glasses. Like the lenses some had pink lenses, some had yellow lenses, so and so. And one of the students actually that had autism and has autism actually talks about how just using those lenses, like those glasses with those colored lenses, made her focus a lot better on her work, and she finally could look at stuff without that, like the PowerPoint that the teacher was showing and stuff like that, without it being confusing. The autistic brain, not as in the book, but the autistic brain works differently. Every brain works differently, but the autistic brain works even more differently. And each autistic brain works differently. That's why it's called a spectrum. So this actually shows a lot of stuff that impacted different people on having a better quality of life. So I think that for parents that have their kids diagnosed, it's already very important. But mostly for adults that get diagnosed, this is amazing, because it makes you understand stuff that you had no idea. This is a book by Mark Manson. Let me do a quick disclaimer here. I'm not the type of person that reads self-help books. So the first thing I noticed was that there were no notes at the end of the book. When the book ends is when the book ends. And that's something that I'm only used to see in novels. And I don't have a lot of novels. I have a few of them. But I was looking because I have here three piles of novels. But it's less than 50% of my bookshelf. Over 50% is nonfiction. And I think I only have 2 self-help books. This one that I read in November. And the other one I actually read this month, in December. And I didn't like it. But yeah, this one is an exception. Because when I looked at this, I thought maybe Mark Manson is just saying the obvious thing. But also, I was the subtle art of not giving up. Is he gonna sound like a psychopath that doesn't care about anything? Because even if you don't want to care about stuff, you have to care about something. But no, he didn't sound like a psychopath. He actually said something that it's quite simple, but a lot of times that we don't think about. That is we should care about certain stuff. We can care about a lot of stuff, but basically this book tells you where to put your energy, because it basically tells you how many to give, okay? Because you can't give about everything, okay? If you do that, it's very likely that you're going to go crazy really fast in life. And I say that to myself. I'm talking to you as if I were to talk to myself in the past, because I am going through stuff. I was losing my hair due to an illness that I've been fighting, and the medicine that I've been using for that illness. I'm not gonna talk a lot about that, but with that and reading this and seeing that at work, sometimes I struggle to have things the way that they were supposed to be in my head. Like the way that we are trying to get a house and sell our house in England, and things sometimes are not going the way that they were supposed to be. A childhood trauma. Like a lot of stuff happens in my head because it happened throughout my life. But I had to choose what was the place where I needed to place my... Okay? Because, yeah, that's what this book talks about. And it did help me. He almost sounds a bit like a comedian. But also very serious. Because he showed just that we can't put our energy into everything. Otherwise, we will always be wasting our energy and not have energy for the things that actually matter. And yeah, it's just that. So, me being me, of course, that I forgot about the book. So that's why I was like, oh, did I read just 8 books? Because I was pretty sure that it was 9. Oh, my voice. And turns out it was 9. I forgot one. I actually read 9. Now, here are them all. I forgot to talk about this one. Like, how the hell did I do this? I don't know. It wouldn't be me without forgetting something. I have quite a good memory for stuff like remembering what happened in the past. Apparently, I just can't remember which books I've read. Somehow. So, I've read also How to Argue with a Meat Eater and Win Every Time by Ed Winters. I actually haven't read his first book yet. This is Vegan Propaganda. Because it just arrived like 2 or 3 days ago. No, actually, yeah, it was yesterday that it arrived on the mail. Because I bought it secondhand. And I didn't find this one near me secondhand. But yeah, I've read also this book, 9th book. Bought it... I don't remember where I bought this one. Oh my god. I buy way too many books. But I read them all. That's what matters. So this is a very good book, I would say, for everyone. Of course that it wouldn't be directly everyone's cup of tea, since not everyone is vegan. But this is a vegan house. I am vegan, my husband is vegan, our dog eats plant-based food, which is even like a choice that was made because of a health condition that she has. So yeah, I read this book by Ed Winters. It's amazing. But it's not only for people that are vegan. This is also good for people that are not vegan and usually use some arguments or so-called arguments from their side about why being vegan is not the way. And he actually explains, Ed Winters explains, with scientific data of how they are actually not correct. And this is not me saying to you, like, if you are not vegan, get the hell out of here. No. But, with that being said, don't go and say on my comments, like, please don't. It's like, oh, but this and that. Probably all the arguments you're gonna have are debunked here. So, if it's not your cup of tea, don't read it. But I would read it even if I was a meat eater, because you shouldn't only be, like, reading stuff that, or trying to get information about stuff that you already agree with. Because if you don't look outside the box and look for information about stuff that you're usually not on board with, you're never gonna see the other side of the fence, sorry. So yeah, Nina from the future came to say that turns out I've read 9 books. So we're done for this video. I do feel like I didn't follow my initial promise of not doing a 20 minutes video, but I'll see it when I edit it. But I'm quite happy that I could recommend you these books, and let's see where we get to for the reading list of December. I've already read, I think, 5 books. I had the goal of initially 15 books for the year, since I was in a reading slump and I had a lot going on. But then I got to 15, so I thought, let me get to 18. I got to 18, then I was like, let me get to 20. And I did finish reading my 20th book yesterday. So now I'm actually on my 21st book of the year, and I'm starting to read today. I'll start reading today Hood Feminism. Sorry, my marker. It's from Mickey Kendall. Yeah, Mickey Kendall. And it is about basically the movement that forgot about certain people. I don't need to say anything else. Not gonna review this with you now because this is for the month of December. But yeah, it was missing from my piles. And yeah, that's it. I think that's it for our video of this week. My allergies are killing me. I don't know why. It was nice to see you again, and I'll see you on the next video. In the next video that should be next week, and hopefully with a bookshelf. Let's hope so. See you guys. Bye.